All right, guys. Well, welcome back to the Quad Damage Podcast. I'm the Midnight Medium. Of course, as always, I'm joined by Robert.
Hello.
Hello. Unfortunately, Deadforge couldn't be with us today. He's all right. He's just got somewhere else he needed to be today. But Nick from the Nth Review decided very graciously last minute to step in and help us out. But he's not as gracious or as unself-interested as you might think, because we've been working on a certain project together that has brought us together, and it's why we're here today. The occasion is that we're actually going behind the scenes of Routine, which is the first-person horror exploration game that's been 13 years in the making. Now, most games never see the light of day if they take that long, and if they do, they're usually terrible. But not only is this one here and it's real, but it's really good. So how is that possible? Well, we're going to talk to the man on the moon himself today. Welcome to the show, Lunar Software's mastermind, Aaron Foster. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thanks guys.
For joining.
Quite the intro too.
Let's get
booming.
Thank you so much for being here. Like we were saying in the pre-show, this feels like a big get because we just thought it's unlikely that, a project that's out there like that in the mainstream will be able to get behind the scenes of something that we're actually that deeply interested in. But really appreciate you being here and taking the time and give us the opportunity to speak with you about this, because we're all perhaps overly interested. It's become kind of our new obsession. Me and Nick, the Nth Review, have been going back and forth pretty hardcore recently. So just want to congratulate you on the release, and thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. You have amazing guests on this show, so I don't see myself
Appreciate
any different. Well, not that I'm saying I'm amazing, but I'm amongst good company,
We know what you meant.
Good company.
And no, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so I guess our first question would be sort of a simple one. Kind of what got you into this this game development path in your life, and what kind of project does Routine have to be, in your mind's eye for you to stick with it this long? Kind of what got you all the way here.
Well, there's a long answer to that.
We've got time.
Obviously, like you all, gaming's probably been part of everyone's lives here since they were young, and I'm no different. And that led me early on. Actually, it wasn't game development. I actually got into competitive gaming quite early on, and used to play for UK's #1 team called Four Kings a long time ago, and they're not around anymore, but they had a really strong Counter-Strike team, and I was part of the Painkiller team back in the day for 1v1.
Wow.
A long time ago, yeah. I also did a little bit with Doom 3 as well, competitively.
You can play Doom 3 competitively.
But it was very short-lived. So it was.
He found a way.
It was very short-lived. I don't know if you know an old league called CPL, Cyber Athlete Professional League. So it was like the premier place for esports back in the day. And it was always hosted once a year or twice a year in America, in Dallas. And so I was part of Four Kings team for the 1v1 team on Painkiller. And they would fly me out to America to compete over there. And that's how it started, really. I just wanted to be closer to games. More than just playing them, I wanted to do more with it. And it just naturally went into competitive side. But in doing that, it just wasn't quite scratching that itch that I needed. And when I was younger, I used to draw a lot and write little bits and bobs and create worlds, and the competitive thing started to just not be enough. And not long after that, I enrolled in university to do game design course. It was like a mixture between design and art. And that was pretty cool because it gave you a space amongst other people who wanted to get into game development as well. And it was there that I just started to get into modding, doing loads of Quake 1 mods and stuff like that. And it was a completely different experience to competing. It was just wonderful. And the
So
depth.
you're modding like Cyclops and Wolverine into your Quake 2 and stuff like that.
No, so we use a modified Quake 1 or id Tech 2 engine called Dark Places, if you know. Yeah. And I worked with this programmer who was he used to do everything himself. And I just joined him as like a learning sort of 2D and 3D artist and level designer, and would do stuff for that. We got a mod into, I don't know if you remember, PC Zone magazine back in the day.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So we got like the CD there and stuff like that. It was cool. And fast forward a few years, and I got a job at a company called Eurocom here in the UK, who go quite far back. Quite an old company who are shut down now. They're like a 300-man team, and down in Derby they were. And I worked there for a few years, but again, working with other people just did not scratch that itch. I needed to do my own thing, and every time I went home at night, I'd just be working on my own stuff. A different project after different project, like nothing was sticking. It was just I wanted to do stuff. But because of some health issues that happened during that period, and a friend of mine at work also, he just passed away. Like, he was a fellow environment artist with me in the same studio, and one day he just didn't come into work, and he just during the night, he just gone. And it was like stuff like that just forced me to like make a change. I worked there for a few years as an artist, and I needed to do my own thing. So I quit, went back to my hometown, started teaching at university part-time for 3D art and 2D art. And I just, as I was there, I was just trying to figure out what I really care about. And after weeks of just going around and around, there are certain themes that I have never stopped loving. I have never stopped loving horror. I have never stopped loving believable, relatable sci-fi, which goes back to like the 70s and 80s of media. And I was born in 1985, and I kind of grew up a lot around VHS stores and stuff like that. And that stuff has never changed. It's never died down. It's never gone away. So I started to just make a game basically all around the things that I loved, and try to design it in a way that I could pull it off technically as well. And that was the start of Routine, essentially.
Join the Quad Damage memberships and get the additional quaddage for all the hard-hitting conversations the public don't see, on-screen recognition, quizzes, and voting opportunities on who we invite on the show. Extending invitation does not guarantee appearance. They may tell us to f*** ourselves. And more.
Were there specific, and everyone's going to say Alien Isolation, right? Because it's of a very similar nature. Now, they were clearly developed alongside each other, but were there like other games that inspired Routine?
Yeah, so when I was working on it, Alien Isolation was never even announced or anything. When I showed the very first trailer, it was still, I don't think it was announced. So it was never an inspiration, but Alien was. Obviously, clearly the Alien franchise was. So that's why there's clear overlap, in that regard. The original Alien is still, obviously, it's in my top 10 movies of all time. I just adore it.
Masterpiece of the genre.
Yeah, exactly. 2001: Space Odyssey is an obvious reference. That movie is it's literal perfection to me. Like, there's obscure ones out there too, which on the surface level you would never see the inspiration. Think movies like Paper House and things like that no one will know. Like, it's obscure movies, and there's nothing about it that you would say that is Routine or I can see the inspiration. But there's a lot of movies that, and media in general, that inspire a lot of creative people just like myself, that creates their sort of DNA of who they are and the things that they create. And it's very subconscious, very kind of like interwoven into them as creators. So it's hard just to say like the direct ones, because everything that I've consumed growing up has formed who I am.
What about like Amnesia? Because I got real Amnesia vibes. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, have you played Soma?" And Soma obviously came out. You guys had already announced, and you were into development. But like Amnesia vibes. We've got that horror adventure mechanical gameplay in
So-
there. Not quite just above a walking simulator.
Yeah, so Amnesia was never a inspiration necessarily, but I can see where you come from for looking at it as a potential inspiration. I really enjoyed Penumbra back in the day quite a lot, actually. Trying to hit wolves with the hammer and you know,
It's so janky.
but I really enjoyed it, honestly. Like, it was great. And Amnesia was just an extremely solid game. It was like just refined. Everything was just the stuff they just didn't need was just cut out, and it was just a solid experience, you know. But I wouldn't say it was an inspiration in that, not directly anyway. Maybe subconsciously in some way.
You vibed with it.
Yeah, for sure. I would say the original White Day was definitely a bit of an inspiration. Not the one that's on Steam, the original Korean one that never got translated. There's fan translations out there. The way that they handled kind of like the difference between, because they have like a security guard inside the school. And I always loved, there's more than the security guard. And I loved the difference between the two elements of horror, which was definitely a bit of an inspiration for how we did that as well. And obviously Doom 3 is an obvious one for how the terminal interactions are and stuff. When I first played Doom 3, I was just blown away with that. It's brilliant, and other things too.
I think G-Man in his video included the fact that it was very similar to Doom 3 as well in terms of, I remember a shot of like the grabber in Doom 3, so it is a good mechanic to use, but to go from competitive CSGO to
No, I wasn't. I wasn't CSGO, and that was, it would be Counter-Strike 1.6 back then.
Oh, right, okay, right. Okay.
Yeah, because I was 19 back then. I'm 40 now.
I had a two-part question here. First off, I've been following, we all kind of have, but I've been following this game since the original unveil, the green light, stuff like that. So 13 years. And I guess 14 now. That's where we're up to. And I know we can talk about it. Like, the art direction is so freaking incredible. And I know we can just pile deep into that. Same with the sound design. The presentation is just incredible. But what I want to ask you, two-part question. One, you originally launched with this like glitchy, bitchin' magenta logo for Routine. And then when it shipped, it became this like cool, like I think it's Corbel, like Microsoft Office font logo. What was the inspiration for that change?
So the original, well, there's actually, so if you look back at the Unreal Engine 3 days, I think we had two logos. We had this softer one, which was just never going to stay. It was kind of, I didn't like it.
Artsy.
Yeah,
You
and then
can't
we had
reproduce
this.
it at all. Yeah.
Then we had this one that was, you call it like glitched and chopped up and stuff. And to me, there was two main things I disliked about it. So one, it was just too messy. It felt like it was overcompensating for, it's like, we are a science fiction game. Boom. Look at all this stuff going on. And two, the type of glitching that happened was digital, and we're an analog based game, and I don't want to detract from that. So, yeah, that's the new logo. We have kind of two versions, a clean one, which is just kind of a nice, clean sans serif version of the font. And then the one that's I essentially passed through my CRT and recorded, and it was like that. It was the one where it's got legitimate analog distortion on it and stuff, which was not faked or anything, and just that was the other
No
one.
filters or anything. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we never use any filters. Everything's legitimately done. I've got like 3 VCRs down here. I have 6 CRTs in the house.
I would say like
two
you
of them are
put the
here.
filter through the sun of like a TV on fire, and you got the logo. The second part of my question is, I've played Routine. What is Routine? Like, what is you're not a space janitor. It's not like you're supposed to go up there and like clean up or something. You're an engineer who's designed to troubleshoot this thing. Like, what is the routine of Routine? Because when it pitched, it felt like it was more of a like randomly generated, you're going to go around the base and like you're going to accomplish tasks, which totally in my headspace because you don't have so much out. But what is the routine of Routine?
Well, I guess I'll answer that in a slightly different way. routine is. There's essentially been almost three versions. No, I'd say 2 versions of routine. Right, we've got the original idea, which was a bit more inspired by the rogue genre and other elements, where we, at the time, we had this strong belief that we wanted a lot of consequence through permadeath, and we felt that that really fit the horror genre. As we were developing it, we found, at least with how we was trying to build the world and tell a story, we found that a lot of the randomization death just started to detract from the sort of narrative and impact of just anything having, like weight in the world. And it started to go down a very mechanically driven game for it to be fun. It was very either combat focused or I mean, and that still would be cool, but it wasn't the game we were trying to make or we wanted to make. So as we were trying to problem solve,
like the golden age of like the roguelites, when Dead Cells is coming in and FPL and stuff like that.
So yeah, I was really inspired by you ever played the Alien Rogue game? Alien, it's just called Alien RL, and it's like a legitimate roguelike, like back in the day where it's ASCII and you're moving. Yeah, I was surprised how atmospheric and fun that was. And that's how I discovered kind of like the joy of rogues back then. And so that was, a lot of it was inspired by that. But we just couldn't, as a team of 3, we just could not figure it out. Like we struggled to make it work. Everything we did just felt like we had to compromise. So like, you'd play the game for like 3 hours and then you would die. And when you went back to the start, we didn't have enough interesting content to say, okay, this time I'm going to explore a completely different path and experience something new. It was kind of treading over the same ground, and it felt bland, regardless of how much we randomized and played with. None of it had much meaning to it. And then in the later, I'd say in the second half of the UE3 days is when we started to remove more and more of that. And it started to look basically very similar to what you see today. So the last version of the UE3 version never had all the randomization of the levels or anything. But we kept little bits here and there. We still randomize codes. Every code in the game is randomized and stuff like that. It's minor things.
But like they kept that part in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small thing, but it's an easy one to add that, it didn't come at a cost of anything to add that type of thing, apart from people trying to write guides.
I did notice that the Prima guide, because I did need help a couple times, that they did have like a fixed number in there, and it's like, well, that can't be right, because the numbers are randomized. Yeah. So if you're buying the Prima guide, which you are not, there's a reason why they're out of business. They're selling lies about routine.
I think we saw like the very first guide that went up. It was on like launch day, and I was like, damn, that's fast. And in there was all the codes. And
like
this person does not realize they're it's cool though, very cool.
Routine speedrun 100%.
Yeah. So I think the speedrun community have been doing it with a seeded save file, so they know everything that is all the randomly generated elements. They know it all pre-run. So
that's not fair.
Yeah, it's two versions. I think the seeded run and the non-seeded run. I think
Oh yeah, there you go.
Want to support your favorite boomer shooter podcast? Well, tough luck, because we're all you've got. Visit the Quad Damage affiliate store for the most bangin', most boomin', most please give us your money stores on the internet. Well, Amazon anyway. Only available in the US because we're too lazy to set it up for any other country.
I guess the different versions that were floating around at the beginning, what was kind of the place where it may have always been from the beginning that you knew that it was going to be more of a diegetic? I think you mentioned this in the Nick Calendra interview. It was like full body awareness was kind of the idea. Was that a thing that was always a part of what you were trying to capture, or that's sort of what you branched into once you got out of the rogue space?
No, that was always a very strong part of it from the get-go. So when routine started originally, it was just me for a little bit, I was making environments and doing mostly just art related stuff. And very quickly after that, I got a programmer who's called Pete, who's still with us to this day, who shipped it with us. And he, when he first joined the project, there was 2 things that I asked him to do. And that was the full body awareness, so that you could look down and see your body. We didn't just want to simply do a 3rd-person game and attach the camera to it. So it's like there are 2 sets of animations and it's a bit more cleanly done. And then the other one is the dead zone aiming. So when you aim, basically the cat isn't stuck to the middle of the screen. It's got like a bit of a dead zone to it. There were the 2 features. I think after that, it was the sort of Doom 3 style interfaces with terminals. And then that was basically that was the start of all of the diegetic feel to it. And then Mick at the time, when he did all the audio, he was doing the same thing, you know. He was making sure everything was very much within the world itself.
That is a very big get to have that name on your name on your game. You know, Mick Gordon is attached to it. Is it literally just sound design that he did? Because I had to look at his Wikipedia just to kind of see what he did on the game. It does say that.
Yeah. So, basically back then up until 2023 or 2024, maybe 24 at the start of it. I'm not sure. I can't quite remember the date. Up until that point, he was the only guy doing audio for the game. But that was everything, you know, everything you heard, it would be him, whether it's music, sound, anything. Mick was basically joined the project not long after Pete and Gemma did. Sorry, if you can, Gemma's sitting over there, basically. She got cold.
She's
got cold, so she's coughing away.
So 13 years ago, Mick's like, yo, I see this looks dope, I'll be in on that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so I shared so I added him, I can't remember where I added him. I added him somewhere because I saw a trailer he did for a game called Edge of Twilight. And there was this one particular trailer called Someone Special, I think it was. And I just thought the song was just incredible, and found out it was this guy called Mick Gordon, and found him. Connected to him, and he saw Routine, and that's what we got speaking, and that was it.
And he went out to work on this little game from these guys from Texas called Doom. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but like Doom, and then this other Gray out of Texas.
Wolfenstein
while
Doom,
he's working on your game.
Yeah.
You guys had to switch there. Yeah. How much of his stuff survived because he had to hop off? Obviously, he's done this Doom game or whatever, and like, how much of that survived into the final product?
So, loads of his work's there. He didn't implement any of the work though. He did do up until like 23 or something, and then when because basically he had an extremely busy year, and I think it's 23, 24. Extremely busy schedule, and we were building up to like the very late stages of development, and so there's a lot of conflicts with what he was doing in time wise, because obviously Mick, he works on an incredible amount of things. So yeah, we had to get someone else in to kind of like implement and do everything. So that's where we found NJ Apostle, who basically was very comfortable in Unreal. He shipped like 4 Unreal games before. Very comfortable. He does sound, music, voice recording stuff. He's done a lot of stuff like that. So he actually voice acted some stuff in the game, did all the loads of stuff in it. It's amazing. So
voices the robot. The cute little robot.
No. No, that one's kind of done using an old kind of like text to speech sort of synthesizer. So very much inspired by I forgot what the chip's called now, like an old, I can't remember now, it's been so long.
So it sounded like, it reminded me of Kid Talk for the Atari ST, like that super synthy.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Yeah. And Speak and Spell and stuff like that.
Yeah, like barely legible. Like, what are you saying? All right, I think I understand.
Honestly, like he's almost the entire reason we implemented subtitles initially, just for that guy. like early on in the old UE3 version, Mick did a thing where there's certain words that the IC would say that were important, like it might say the word like squash courts, and we need the player to understand that they need to go to the squash court. So it would speak like the IC up until the point it said squash courts, and then it would play like a pre-recording from a human for that one part. And that was a really interesting way of doing it. It added a bit of creepiness to the IC, but it got the job done. But this time around, subtitles. Some of the later lines, I was the one that kind of like typing them out and getting the audio file before like NJ would work on it. And to me, it was like, yeah, perfect. It's completely legible. Send it to NJ, and he's like, I have no idea what's going on. But yeah, you're so used to it, and you know what it says. It's simple, right? It's straightforward, but no one, I don't think,
kind of
anyone
mean.
deciphers.
Oh, jerk.
yeah. There's that one line it comes out with that is a little bit on the unfair side, but he needs to have a little victory.
So, our burning questions round. This is where we have 3 questions we ask our guests, completely unrelated to the interview that we're doing. It's 2 random questions and then 1 trick question. So, Nick, I've got 2 questions for you here, but I didn't have a trick question for you as well. So, Aaron, starting with yourself then. What do you remember most about your first crush? Is that something you can actually discuss?
Oh my God.
Now?
Remember the most.
I can change the question if you
No.
want.
I'll take the heat.
You might say it's routine.
But I remember a hug was very exciting. Yeah, it was like I felt like I've won.
You were in there.
That was it. Yeah.
Number 2, what's the most silly thing that you did?
In relation to that, or just in general?
It's a separate question, separate subject.
Okay.
Any example from your life?
When I pitched routine to Pete, the programmer, I said, "Yeah, join us, help me out. It'll be a 6-month project." That's back when there was no mechanics or anything, so
Yeah.
But
It's just a screensaver bouncing around the screen.
Oh, so question 3: if the moon base in routine had a lost and found, what's the first thing you think would end up in it?
So, so the funny thing is that we did have a lost and found in the UE3 version,
okay.
And it was a disc. So it was a disc. That was it. It was like a skeleton key disc.
I could have been woven into the storyline. I bet I could have. So, Nick, for you're not going to get away. All right. So, for you, what is the current go-to song to dance to when no one's around?
Me? Oh
Yeah,
my
for you.
God. I mean,
Good
the
question.
goat.
Is it Britney Spears? Or...
No, it's Spice Girls, and it's Wannabe. And then the next.
I hate that song.
No, you don't. You're from Britain. You love the Spice Girls. Robert,
when
come on.
When that came out, I was a teenager. I was like, this song is shit. I don't understand. I understand that they got through sheer force of personality, but that's not a good piece of music, bro.
No, their managers put them through the grinder. Like, it was absolutely terrible for them. That's why Ginger quit when she did, and the rest of the girls, well, they held on as long as they could, but they did reunite years later. I will also say, it's not quite as popular, but Morningwood's Nth Degree, it was in a Cadillac commercial a long time ago, but it is, you'll have to hear it, but it is so beautiful, it's so punchy and powerful, and you can stand, it is the ultimate karaoke song. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, when I listen back on this, I'll remember what that title is, and I'll have a look at it then.
All right.
So, question 2 for you then. If you had the choice to go back in time or into the future, what would you choose?
Oh, God. Well, I think what I would do is I would take this recording and I would go back 13 years and I'd have a conversation with Aaron over ICQ or something. Be like, yo, you made this game. It changed the world like Bill and Ted style. And I don't think George Carlin was alive still, but I think he'd be like, yo, it changed the world, Aaron.
Yeah, have a chat with the Duke Nukem Forever guys as well. save the world a lot of trouble.
We've still got all the money. We could still ship it. It's good.
Yeah. While you're at it, talk to the Beyond Good and Evil guys. See if they can.
God.
Doesn't that hold the
Resurrect that.
record? I'm sure that holds
It's
the
about
record.
to. I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
It's
Duke
like a
Nukem
I remember
Forever?
going to
revolution.
see that. Yeah. I bet you that's some sort of money laundering scam, just like fucking Star Citizen is or something. It's designed like war. It's designed to keep going to make someone money. You know.
Well, and okay, so how do you feel having shipped a game, Aaron, and Star Citizen is still like both of you guys debuted at the same time, and they've got almost $1 billion, and you're pretty close, but like you shipped a game, so.
Basically, what they're doing is 1 billion times more ambitious than what we did. So
I don't know. You went
yeah.
to the moon. They're just floating around in their little ships. So
Yeah.
no, they so I've not played Star Citizen yet. I've obviously seen bits and bobs. From my perspective, their game looks extremely complex from a technical point of view that I wouldn't even want to attempt.
I can imagine.
it's just a few extra plugins. Yeah.
I always get that and EVE Online mixed up. They seem like they're the same game to me.
The spreadsheet
Well,
simulator.
yeah, that was our burning questions round. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Nick, for joining us for that little episode. And back to the questions then.
You ever been in the right place but wearing the wrong thing? Ain't ever gonna happen again, brother, because you can now buy the sexiest apparel this side of a John Romero hair products line. Visit the Quad Damage Amazon merch store and get that shiz delivered on Prime.
Damn.
You're gonna look good.
So I was curious. We were talking about the art direction and the sound design and everything, how immersive and just preposterous it is. One thing I noticed is that anytime I would pause the screen, like I would go to the pause, or I could just screenshot anything on my computer with my recording device and everything, that every single one of them looked active. Like you pause something, you unpause it, you go right back in. There's like a seamless transition. And I'm curious, is there, like, how did you get to that spot? Because I know the lighting was not flat, but it was a lot more traditional lighting back in the earlier builds. How did you get to that kind of that smoky film grain where every frame, even just the most generic, like a wall, right? Somehow that just has this almost like it feels alive. I don't know if that's something you can tell, intangible you can explain, but that was kind of freaking me out that it didn't matter what I was looking at. It just seemed like it was like, I'm in it.
So I'll try to decipher what you mean.
Okay.
So there is like a film grain. You can turn it off in the game.
Sure.
We don't use default Unreal film grain or anything. It's just kind of a custom made one. It's a bit chunkier and a bit has color to it and such. So that's probably doing a lot of the movement that you probably feel. But I think outside of that, there's not much of a movement from a static screen thing. We do try to use a lot of fog and volumetrics and just general smoke and things like that. Because obviously a lot of like what's it called now? Is it Silent Running with Sean Connery? Not Silent Running. That's not the Sean Connery one. Oh, what's the Sean Connery movie from like the 80s?
Yeah, he did. It was a sci-fi movie on the moon, right?
Yeah, but what's it called? It's not Silent Running. It's
no, Silent Running is Mike and the Mechanics.
Yeah. Like that movie was visually, I loved the sets. I forgot what it's
Outland.
called. Outland. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
So apologies on that reference, but
I'm on the moon.
yeah, a lot of movies like that. They often had this like nice level of like, because people would just like smoke in space and stuff. Like it would just be like they just treat it the same as being on Earth at that time period, and so with it, you got a lot of the sort of nasty like pollution and other things. So there's a lot of things like that we try to incorporate into the general look.
I did think it was fun to hop around the moon. I was like, give me a rover, let's go.
Yeah. I use that as a joke every now and then just to stress the programmer out. Like,
So we're having a kart racing segment in here, right? It's like
Starfield major vehicles, we got to make ours.
I know, right? Did you play this new Bethesda game? It's got role playing and stuff in here. We got a version 3. Here we go. You talked how this kind of started as a walking simulator, and especially toward the end of the 1.0 version, you were like, we're adding stuff on, but it's not really making much sense. And you talked about your struggle with like, we started as kind of a roguelite, and that didn't make much sense either. And it's kind of like the square cube law of where if you add 1 or 2 mechanics, you have to add 10 times as much game, to justify it. So you have to walk this line between walking simulator, Soma style, and like System Shock 2, where they've built an entire game around that. So obviously you came back and you found that balance because you eventually shipped a game. What was that balance of between walking simulator and adding enough gameplay and bits to the game that it is a game, but it's not like a full-on immersive sim?
So I think we had the real benefit of kind of like remaking a game. The game never released, obviously, the old UE3 version, but we got to develop the second version in hindsight, which is an absolute blessing, really. You know what you did wrong on the previous version, and you're able to now rectify it with a fresh start. So we were just kind of gutting the things that we just did not need. And you mentioned there where, we try to solve problems in an uncreative way by just workload alone, just making more content. But if that content doesn't have any feeling or weight or purpose, there's no point to it. So this time around, it was about figuring out, what mattered in this version of the game, and really just trying to double down on that, making the cat the main character, really making that have way more features than it did previously. Back then, you couldn't inspect the cat and press buttons on it in the UE3 version or anything like that. So, just trying to double down on things that made sense with our core pillars, like keeping everything very diegetic and tactile.
Because that cat is basically an inventory screen. Like it is you're holding it aside, and it's like you're picking the thing you want to use on the environment. Like I kept thinking, like, this is a Scum game. Like, I need to open it up. Here's the dig engine. It's like I'm going to apply gem to socket to do thing, and that's kind of what the cat is. It's where all of our kind of like core depth that you take with you through the game exists, and it kind of evolves a little bit through the game, and it's also it looks after you, it solves puzzles for you, it allows you to save the game, like in the world. Gives you little kisses.
Well, it's either that or the robot.
Someone's got that.
Yeah. With the development period being so long, and kind of every day, no doubt, kind of feels the same, where it's just iteration after iteration, and this is your job now, sort of thing. But did you just feel different on the day when you woke up and like, I'm shipping this today? This is it. After 13 years, today's the day.
No, there was never a day like that. I'd say even now, it still doesn't feel quite like we've done it. Like, it's still not sunk in, and it's been like 2 months now, roughly.
Yeah.
And it's kind of surreal. None of us have really. Every now and then we look at each other and we say, we've done it, we've done it, and it's great. In that moment, it's great, but a few minutes later, it just doesn't quite feel like it. It was for a long time. It was just like we were in the trenches all the time working on it. But I don't mean that in a bad way. It was just in a heavy way. Because I look back at those times as the most fond memories of working on the game is when we're all kind of extremely overworked, tired, but the three of us are just, and NJ joined us for a lot of that at the end as well, where we're just working well together, and it doesn't matter how tired or grueling it was. We were just all working on the same thing. We're just trying to make this game as good as we can make it. And I miss those times. Right now I miss the overtime crunch. I love it. It was great.
You miss it?
Absolutely.
What?
I know some Rockstar execs that want to hear from you.
It's weird because I understand when I worked at Eurocom, crunch was kind of exciting at first because it was like this huddle of fellow developers working on this thing. But it gets to a certain point where when you're crunching on someone else's game and to you it's just a job, during that period, it don't feel so good. I understand why that won't.
Yeah.
But this is our baby, this means everything to us. So crunch to us is every hour we put into it is just making it better.
Difference between working at a business and owning the business. The owner will always have a personal investment. I mean, our previous guest, Jordan, of course, Conscript took, speaking of trenches, Conscript took years to make. So he was, the same sort of mentality as well. It's your little baby and you're raising it. And one day you've got to put it out into the world. And I guess even when it's out in the world, you still think I could have maybe done a little better. Or
of course. I don't think many people would feel otherwise. I think you nail it. There's so many things I see where I know I could have pushed more, done more, and I think that's just inevitable for everyone.
So we can expect, just like we had a concert director's cut, we can expect a routine director's cut.
So a few people have asked about
expecting
stuff.
A battle pass, like the routine, season one, like 3 extra moon bases,
some dance emojis and stuff. All just
the old playable builds in the arcade or something.
You get some cat skins, like glitter,
That
like
sounds a
gold
cool idea.
shaders on there. I'd pay $5 for a golden cat.
Can you do that? Can you do that with the arcades, but the old build, or does the old build completely the UE3 version? It's just been expunged from existence.
Yeah, there's no simple way to just make the old version playable in the arcade. It's literally it's Unreal Engine 3, and it uses UScript and its own thing. But yeah, I forgot what the question was now.
So have I, actually.
Director's cut.
Tangent. Director's
cut. I don't think there's enough I would change to justify a director's cut or anything like that. It's more just improvements, and it's one of those things where it'd be nothing that changes the experience enough to call it that. It would just be, lots of small adjustments and improvements to things, rather than that. But yeah.
To shift subject here, like jump scares, you did them, and you did them really good, and they usually are crappy. Like you get those 99-cent horror games on Steam where they're just 100% jump scares, and I'm kind of wondering, what horror cliches did you want to avoid, or did you have a philosophy that kind of guided you in making those scary moments? Genuinely, I am cowering against this glass block wall, against this creepy thing. What guided you to make sure that was legitimate?
So I think we have 2 jump scares in the game. I
Says
feel like
you.
Well, two that were designed as such that I feel so. And one of them was purposely put there to make Entity A feel almost playful, because by that point, Entity A is very aggressive and it's just almost like an antagonist or creepy. And there's a part of his personality that we want to explore a bit more, and and the playfulness was part of that. And I'm talking about obviously spoilers, but the one in
Just say the battery, right? On the table.
Yeah,
the
the idea on the table, in the mess hall, essentially, within the middle of the room.
Dear God.
So that's the playful one. And then the next one is kind of like so the next one's an interesting one because that sequence is an important sequence that happens, and I'm talking about right at the end of the game when you see Entity A for the final time. Obviously, again, major spoilers if anyone's not played it.
Yeah.
But Entity A comes from a space where he's never able to get into up until that point. So it's a nice surprise. But it's almost like part of the reason we put it in is to reset the player's thought process for a second, because it's such a jarring thing, because what's about to happen next is meant to be focused on Entity A and what they're feeling. And so it was almost like we used it as a reset, and that was the purpose of that one. Because up until that point, some people were a little bit lost in terms of some people would know exactly where they're going, some people wouldn't, and you had this unsureness about it. So it was put in for that reason, just to slap them back to that moment. But yeah, so cliches though. The one cliche that actually some people even that play tested it early on were surprised by was the lack of gore and the lack of, the typical blood writing on the walls and stuff. That's not stuff that I am typically in tune with, because I everything in routine I feel like we tried to put there that made sense, and I can never in my head justify why someone would, at least in our universe, write something on the wall in blood, especially if it's their own. And to that degree, it's a lot of blood probably. So I try to avoid a lot of stuff like that and typical expected stuff with gore or I love gore, by the way. I'm a huge fan of like the most gory B movies you'll watch. They're I find them very entertaining. Just almost comedic. So I would have loved to explore and do stuff with it, but yeah, Evil Dead, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Medium, you were going to ask a question.
I think it was going to be that jump scares one, but I was actually curious too. This is kind of relevant since we're talking so much about Entity A, especially. I noticed that the sprint function is a little bit unique in that it's sort of this like really jaunty gallop, right? You click it, you toggle it on, and you're kind of a little bit out of control. Was that a pretty intentional part of the run? Was that the rest of it's very deliberate, but once you get running, you're not meant to be able to stop on a dime and cut and all that kind of stuff? Because I noticed when you stop, you don't run into a wall and stop like a lot of games. This is very much like it's up to you to make that click again to make him stop running, and even then it's not a smooth animation out of it, right? You're always kind of at a disadvantage.
So I presume you're talking about a controller when you say you kind of toggle it on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say I played on keyboard and mouse and I didn't have this part. I just let shift and it didn't.
Okay.
So yeah, I when developing routine, I played a keyboard and mouse 99% of the time. Other people used a controller and kept that more in mind. I would say the fact that it doesn't stop when running into something in that regard is probably more of an oversight, to be honest, rather than a decision. But in terms of the speed and the intention of running, this was we had a few debates about this throughout development, about the speed in which you run and why you would run, and is there a cost of running? And we had stamina systems heavily early on, and it felt very tedious in a lot of ways for us. And we had a run that was a lot slower, that just got you around, but we wanted the run to feel a bit more like, if you commit to it, you commit to it, and it generates audio and things can hear you, and it's loud and it's obnoxious. So that's kind of why it is the way it is. Just a bigger embrace of a person's choice.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty effective in that regard. That was something I hadn't quite seen before, where running is usually like to get out of, like, obviously it makes noise, but it's usually not like you're going to run, but you're also going to have to like think about stopping and not just get away faster. Like, you're not just going to outsmart the AI by just clicking sprint. Now it's like, this isn't as easy as it could be, and I like it. No.
Speaking of the surface of the moon, did you have any plans for like some sort of like giant entity to come after you and chase you down that Kubrickian 2001, either one of them, like as you're like, and you're like, because that was one of the cool parts is that when you're out on the moon, your visor starts fogging up when you sprint, which it doesn't do inside the base. So it's like, oh no, I can't keep doing this.
Well, so the amount of the moon's surface, the gameplay of the moon's surface changed quite a lot over the development. We iterated on different ideas of what we wanted to do with it. At one point, it was earlier in the game you'd come across it, but really, what felt right with the moon. So when you start the game, you see the moon when the arrivals shutters open, and you basically get a sense of place, right? Like, I'm on the moon. After that point, you don't see the moon until you walk on the moon. So it's a lot, like, we have windows in the game that don't point to the exterior of the base very often. Like, arrivals is the only place you really see it. So there's this kind of like sense of, and it sounds weird, but almost like you breathe when you get onto the moon's surface. Obviously you can't do, but you've been locked in these claustrophobic corridors the whole time. That when you get out there, it felt like a reward. Like, I've made it. I'm on the moon. I'm literally on the moon. And that, out of all the versions we played with, that felt the most rewarding. Was that, and we didn't want to change that feeling by adding threats in there or anything like that. When you get out there, NJ wrote a really nice musical piece that felt just almost Jack is like just a relief. Like the music embraced that very well. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to add that I actually thought it was another kind of avoided cliche, because there's always that thing in game design, right? Like, where it's like, if you're going to repeat something, you usually have like a little bit of a spice or a twist at the end, right? To subvert we're doing this again. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'll just walk. I kept turning behind me to make sure there wasn't something silently just doing this number at me or coming from the opposite direction. It's like, I just know he's going to do this. At some point, they're going to just...
That's the third jump scare.
With my moonwalks, and then they're going to just... And it's going to be even more terrifying because there's no sound. It's just gaining on him. Like, this is going to be the end. I just know it.
We just wanted the moon to be a place of peace. Like, narratively, it's an important part, and as well that like the moon plays a big role, and we didn't want the moon to feel like a place of danger and unease. Obviously, it did to something like yourself. You felt like there was a threat, but yeah. It's meant to feel...
was more out of convention, I think, than anything else. It wasn't you making me think. I was just like, people just do this, right? It's like, when you start out, you spawn into an area and you walk forward, you always check right behind you to make sure that no one put like an item right behind you, that kind of thing. So it was more along the lines of that. But all right, looks like we got kind of a three-parter. Some of this I think you've kind of answered, but we'll just go ahead and ask that of courtesy to someone gracing us with their questions. Shadow Elite 7, his first question is, what made you change from procedural generation and permadeath to handcrafted levels?
So yeah, hopefully this individual's listened to the start of the podcast, so I'll TLDR it for you. But we struggled and failed to make the rogue version of routine work, and ultimately we kept removing it and trying to find the purpose of the project again and purpose of routine, and yeah, the better people could do it than us, but we couldn't at the time.
Yeah, and his second question was there a specific length that you had in mind when you were developing the game?
Not really. I think every now and then we thought about it. It's kind of a hard one when people played the game, because there's no traditional sort of hand-holding in a, like there's no UI to waypoints to help, guide you through. people's times varied massively. So we were getting play times of close to the end, close to the final build, anywhere between 5 and 12 hours, and it was just like it's hard to put a pin on that. But ultimately, we were happy with the idea that the game would be no less than 5, and ideally no more than 7. I feel like it outstays its welcome if it goes too much beyond that. It was designed to be a kind of 6-hour game, really, ideally. So, but it wasn't like we was like, okay, this would make it 6 hours if we add this or take this. It was more that like when it was all said and done, when we get the entire, like, you could play the whole game as a loop, it was averaging around that, and we were very, very happy with that.
Nice. And his final question was, could it be possible to add permadeath as another difficulty option in the future?
I mean, it's technically possible, yeah. Whether we'd do it, I'm not sure, but it's definitely technically possible. But
technically possible, the best kind of possible.
Yeah.
That sounds like an actual nightmare. Like it deletes your save whenever you die from one of those robots. It's like,
I feel like to make that actually fun, it wouldn't just be the permadeath that would need to be added. You'd need to do other things, or else it'd just be, you could self-impose the permadeath at that point if you wanted to. Just when you die, just stop playing. Just click new game. I feel like it needs to be supported with something to make that interesting.
Yeah, because I felt like the balance was lighter than most stealth games. Like it wasn't as hardcore. Like it's not easy, a sense, but it's not oppressive.
Yeah,
in the same way that, like, say maybe Isolation's, which obviously is a much more drawn out type of pattern. But
yeah, I think we are looking at some small little adjustments to do with difficulty for just a base game, not like a mode, which is interesting as well, because there's probably too many batteries, for instance, in the world, and this was in part due to a lot of playtesting. And early on, probably one of the biggest issues in the game was battery consumption. The entire reason item highlight exists is for batteries. For a while, every action on the cat basically took battery as well. So just using the Ultra V module, every second it was on, it was slowly draining batteries and stuff like that. And it just became, it wasn't fun. It was not good. But I think we overcompensated for that by the time of the full release. And so we'll, in an update at some point, we'll probably end up tweaking those at least the amount of batteries and things like that too.
I did get kind of confused by the dispensaries. Like the game kind of makes a point about where the recycled one goes, but there's not any new ones in there. It's just where the old ones seem to go, and then the new ones are kind of throughout the level. So so I'd see the highlight of this on the wall. It's like, but I don't care about that because there's no battery in there. Yeah.
So it's like a battery recycle or battery bin, we call it, and it's essentially a place where people discard old batteries. So every time you pick a battery up from there, they only have one charge, and that's a fallback reason, because obviously there's puzzles that require battery. So if you was to use every battery in the level, it'd be a game breaking sort of stopper, right?
Also, you'd have 20 hours on the play clock.
But so these were added as these are last resort batteries. They're basically there just to make sure you get out of pickle. But everyone you find in the world is always fully charged. Oh, I think you're muted.
I thought that was a pretty good concession to balance, because I know Alien Isolation is a little bit more strict in its resources. Like you really don't want to waste anything. But oh crap, it was just on the tip of my tongue. What was the other? Oh, Outlast. That's a game too that people have tried to tell me is survival horror because of this and that. But it's there's not really any resource consumption in that. I don't know that anybody would want there to be. And by the same token, I don't need routine to be punishing me because I tried the puzzle too many times and I missed or something, with those shock charge things. That seems beside the point,
Yeah, it's why we added it as well. You can view the manual on your cat, and and you can see there, we try to lay it out that it says exactly how much battery consumption per function there is. So like, when you've got the interface module later in the game and you press the button once, it takes like 1/15 of your battery. So stuff like that. So early on, we didn't have that as a clear, defined thing when testers were playing, and so a lot of those things are done because of that.
I actually had a question about your about the publishing experience that you had. I know we talked to plenty of smaller indie developers, and they have kind of sometimes it's the worst experience they could ever imagine. Sometimes it's like the saving grace of the project. I was just curious what you learned from Raw Fury specifically, but also just about the experience in general. Is there any desire to self-publish now that you kind of know the ropes a little bit, or is that kind of something you'd like to keep doing in the future with Raw Fury or somebody similar?
So one of the great things about Raw Fury is that their publishing agreement is public. Everyone can read it at any point before you've started a discussion with them. And I think that's an amazingly open thing to do. So that in itself is great. And I can't talk for every publisher out there, but a good few that I know of don't do it this way. But Raw Fury has an insanely nice sort of payment scheme where they do it based on burn rate per month. So instead of like saying in 3 to 4 or 5 months, there's a certain milestone and deliverable we have to give a publisher to get a payment. With Raw Fury, they do a fixed rate every month that covers your costs, and there's no stress. So the whole payment aspect of it is a very, very comforting sort of non-stressful aspect of working with them, which is very, very, very nice to work with. And outside of that as well, like obviously they did a great job with working with a lot of companies. Like, so we hiring our testing company to not only on the bug side but on the playtest side, like working with a lot of these people and managing that stuff with us was just massive time save, as well as working with like Microsoft and stuff. All those things that you maybe don't realize going into it if you've not shipped a game before just eat up time. So I would say if you're planning to do like a console release and and work with on cert related tasks and testers, then publishers can help mitigate a lot of that time, which is amazing. Us as a studio, we so a lot of the trailers, for instance, I would just do myself because I just want full control over that stuff. But I know that like Raw Fury has an amazing video team, some really, really strong, good people there, and I could have utilized them more if but I just a bit of a control freak when it comes to that stuff, so I didn't. But
you've earned it.
But sometimes it's good to take control and not leave something, the first impression the world is going to have of your product. You really want to be the one that is the one calling the shots with that.
Yeah, but yeah, the amount of services that a lot of publishers can offer are just great, and a lot of times they're quite flexible in terms of which ones you need, which ones they think you need, and vice versa, and that relationship's great.
So, this is from Jordan, then, the Construct developer. He was with us in our last episodes. We mentioned before that he has a question for you, and you're given the opportunity to ask our next question. His question was, what do you think is the best FPS gun? Now, clearly not as utilizing as a cat, but, what gets the job done in the gibbish way possible?
God, so many guns come to mind now. I'm like,
We'll default to the Doom 2 Super Shot.
No, what? I'm gonna go with one that relates to my past, and that's the Painkiller Stake gun.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So the Stake gun is incredibly cool. it's one of the most satisfying weapons. So like in I'm just going to ignore multiplayer for a second, but in single player, so left click obviously is your primary, and you shoot the stake out, and if the enemy's low enough health, it will like pierce them, but take their body with them and stick them to the wall, and they just be ragdoll physics. And honestly, it's a hell of a lot of fun. But the really cool part of the stake gun as well is that right click will shoot a grenade, and the grenade kind of like it's quite vertical. It pops out, but because it's painkiller, you could do combos with it. So you would right click with the grenade, and then if you shoot the stake, if you hit the grenade, it would then shoot the grenade ahead, and it'd be like a grenade launcher, like really far distance. So you had a lot of like nice skill with it, which you can use in multiplayer too, which is really, really cool. So I would say the stake gun is my choice.
Have you played the reboot?
I've not. No, I've not played too much since working on routine. So
I heard about that.
Imagine,
It's like you stop playing other games as you're working on your game.
Yeah.
Which sounds like the opposite approach of what they did with Duke Nukem Forever, where they would play every single new game that came out and then be like, I want that game in our game. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, we've started to play a few games now that we've obviously ended development, and it's surreal. It's weird. We've held off playing so much that we have such an incredible backlog, and we're slowly delving into it now, which is fun.
That must be an incredible backlog after 13 years, if that's the case.
Yeah, I recently, so I've still got like PS1 games and stuff like that I'm bringing out to play, and it's good. I got a Sega Saturn somewhere down here.
Saturn? Oh, you're one of the 6 people that have got one.
I love the Saturn. I adore it.
I had the Dreamcast.
I loved it. Dreamcast too. My favorite game of all time is Shenmue. So.
Really?
Okay.
Nice.
All right.
And it's bass fishing on the Dreamcast.
Brilliant. I've got the Japanese version and the rod as well. Yeah.
That was a game with a lot of like bespoke mechanics, and I'll segue that into a question about routine. Is that there are so many like little mechanics where the game teaches you something, and then I would get further into the game and then forget it exists. There was one puzzle where it's like I could not have solved that because there's no way I would have remembered that was a thing in the game. So did you encounter any struggles with that as you were playing it with the different onboarding? And then again, we're going back to what mechanics you add and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm going to take a guess and say that it was the leaning puzzle to the right as you would shoot.
That was one. I actually had another one, and that was the back of the paper.
Okay.
Because every game has that rotate 3D prop in the thing.
We don't really use it.
Oh, it's another one. It's another one of those games that does that, and I never use it, but it is fun. You guys did a really good job modeling it. But then it's like it's actually part of the puzzle, and it's like, oh fuck you! I know that.
Because it has never been used to that point. I've been looking at every single one. I'm like, I know they're going to get me if I don't look, and they never did.
I think there's like maybe like 2 pieces of paper prior to that point where there's something on the other side. However, there was more at one point, but during that period where I was designing some things and writing some things for that, Pete was extremely busy doing stuff. And how our subtitles work, so obviously when you've got a piece of paper and you left click, you can kind of read what's on the front. But then you'd have to create an entirely new system for the idea of rotating it behind and then rereading it to see what's on the back. And it's just another piece of workload that would have got onto it because he was like the solo programmer doing everything. I didn't add too much. But obviously with that particular one, we didn't need to have any subtitles for symbols and numbers. So it worked fine.
I want to ask about the future about Lunar Software. Now that this is finally out there, and you're kind of staring at the walls thinking, what do I do for the next 13 years? Do you have any ideas on paper in a diary or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, over the past, however long routine's been going on for, we've been writing down ideas, doing a lot of potentials, and literally maybe like a month ago, we started to shortlist the idea just casually on and off as a team. And we kind of wound wound that down to about 3 ideas that we're all like equally passionate about and excited for. I can't say what it will be yet, but it'll definitely be along that route. And no matter what the next game kind of looks like, there's a lot of DNA that will come with it when it comes down to maybe like even stuff from the past to be explored. So more consequence, more in-depth mechanics, not much hand-holding, like I think more challenging and grueling elements to it. So we definitely want to explore more mechanics, but also make sure that the world building and art direction is a strong part of it as well.
Nick, have you got any questions? I know Medium wants to ask something about the final frame of the game or something like that. Is there anything on your mind?
Yeah, there was. When did and I guess maybe it started. It would have started early on because it was in one of your original trailers. But the first half of the game and the second half of the game are very different. And I'm curious, like, when was that idea of the stuff that happened? Like, I got to the point where you're climbing up a ladder and you're pulled down, and that was actually in one of the original trailers, and clearly that survived through the entire thing. But how built out was that entire second half of the game? Because it's such a shift, and it's a very different thing than what you're introduced to as you come in.
So I think there's like 2 parts of that. So I guess this actually ties into something else as well, is that a lot of people talk about things that have been cut, things they've seen in the old GB3 version, and it's not present in this one. But the majority of the stuff that has been seen in the old versions exists in the new one, but it's just a different format or a slightly different version and slightly different area of that. The ladder scene was, so in the old one, that sequence wasn't fully done yet, the actual cutscene or anything like that, because the narrative was a bit different about that part. But yeah, that was still part of the sewers, and we had a bigger sewer thing that we explored in both versions. But it was like throwing more work at the game than it needed to. And in the new version, we had this like larger sewer section that we just, with the pacing of how grueling getting up to that point was, it just felt like such a slog. So we reduced it to like the best component of it. Did I answer your question? I'm not sure.
I think kind of just like where was stuff essentially, like how much of that, like the entire thing with the bloom and the annex and the ward and stuff like that. Like, it sounds like that's been in there forever, but it may have just changed form.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's like it's a very abrupt change. You have that kind of moment in between of transition.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, we're dealing with a slightly different set of mechanics, enemies, this invisible dude.
So
fuck you, like.
So it was a really important thing for us, and this we had this rule for the old version too, that the second half of the game we do not mark it. It's kind of like a rule that we keep that secret.
No spoilers.
Because it wasn't just spoilers, it was the idea of the expectation, right? It was the people go into that thinking shutting down the ASN is the end goal. That's what you do. And it's that switch up that I really, really wanted people to experience. But I think the reason why it feels so abrupt for people is because at one minute you're in the ASN and the next minute you wake up in the ward.
And is that kind of where like the moon segment may have originally, because that part, it's like you're in a different place now. It seemed like maybe there was a moon part in between there.
Yeah. Well, there's a subtle, if you see when you're getting up off the floor, there's a subtle like faint look of walking on the moon, which is a bit of a memory that the player has. But essentially the reason why it's so abrupt is because, so this is a constant thing we do in the game, that you experience what the player experiences, right? And during that sequence where you go from the ASN to the ward, you have no recollection of it. So it feels immediate, because just like when you go to sleep, the sleep doesn't feel like you've been in bed for 6, 7, 8 hours. It feels quite immediate. And it's the same when you pass out and wake up. You know, you don't feel those hours that you're gone. So we just try to keep it very grounded in that regard, you know. And it does feel abrupt because we're not the ones that, you know, like experience it. But that's
Right.
why it is the way it is. And the switch up was always. We just didn't. In y'all's version, it was nowhere near as interesting because you would travel to this area called the Ward. It used to be called the Cradle back then.
The Shalebridge Cradle, yeah.
The name was inspired by Thief, actually. And you would travel there. You would essentially reveal the entity A, and then you would basically go back into the environments you've already been in with entity A. So there was like no new spaces with it, and yeah, it wasn't particularly interesting as much. So this time around, it was embracing that old base and expanding upon it more. So
Yeah, what was the question you wanted to ask about the final three?
Yeah, tell you what, we'll leave that one for last because that one may be one he can or cannot answer, even
is
by
that
process
yours?
elimination.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
So we'll leave that at the end so if we need to cut it or blah blah.
Yeah.
We can do that. I was actually curious since it's not so often you get to talk to somebody who's had a project kind of in their system for so long. I was kind of curious what not so much advice, but what kind of reflection do you have having been with something this long that might be of use to somebody who's just getting started or kind of got that project sitting on their laptop that they're like, this is never going to be anything, this has gone too long, I got no motivation, no oomph. What would you say to those people, I guess, based on what you've learned from your own experience with routine?
I'd say two things. Make sure you have a skill set that contributes to the majority of what makes that project shine. So when I started routine, environment art was my skill set, and it relied heavily on environment art and atmosphere. So that's part of the reason why it is that way. And then the next one is make sure you care deeply or love whatever it is you're working on, because, and I've said this before, if it wasn't for that, it would have been a lot harder to get through the hard times with routine. So
You got to be
love what
passionate.
you're making and have a skill set that contributes to the majority of making that thing special.
All right, guys. Well, Aaron has very graciously sent us 2 Steam keys for routine. So probably what we'll do is we'll do what we normally do, and especially in keeping with this game's style, we'll subliminally put them on screen for a couple seconds on screen during the whole course of the video. It won't be any particular place. Just be on the lookout for those. It'll be first come, first served. So again, we've got 2 of those. So be on the lookout, and good luck. Obviously, the kind of final frame, right, is the chapter rebirth, right? That comes on screen. And I know there's been a bunch of scuttlebutt. I think this is probably off base, but people have posited, oh, it's a time loop, guys. It's time travel. We're looping back around. I have a feeling it probably has nothing to do with what's going on here, just simply because I don't feel like it has anything to do with the heart of the matter or whatever. But I was curious if that was a part of it. And my second question, you can tell me to buzz off if you need to, is the way that the fungus works, that it basically recreates sort of a clone of you. Like it's not just that you're rebirthing, it's more of reconstituting you and making a new you. That seemed to be a part of the biological process of this thing.
So I think it would be, I wouldn't say unfair, but I think it would. There's a lot of people out there that theorycraft the meaning of a lot of this stuff that you talked about, which I think are very interesting. And I don't want to put like a a definite answer out for that last question anyway.
For sure.
That's for sure. Because there's a lot of people that align very well with it that may have little offshoots of variants that I think it's just wonderful, you know. And a lot of times I've never thought about it in the way that these people are explored, but a lot of them are viable, you know. And I will say about the rebirth element is that it's not a time loop. I will say that much. It's not nothing to do with time.
All right, let's go. Well, I want to thank you guys for watching or listening to the Quad Damage podcast, and we'd like to thank our guest, Aaron Foster, who is broadcasting live from the moon as we speak. I know the latency is going to have to be fixed in post. Everyone's talking over each other to hear him, but I'm glad he's got great cheese up there. If you want to hang on, I'm trying to navigate this part here. Aaron, where can we find you? Like, what's going, like, we want to follow you. People want to check you out. Obviously, buy the game, get the season pass and all that. But like, where do we like follow you?
Lunar Software on Twitter, X, I guess it's called. Yeah, routine on Steam. We post actually community update stuff quite recently on there, quite often. Sorry. Even right now, we have a little community trailer contest out there, which is quite fun. Some fun little prizes for people. So, but yeah, routine on Steam and Lunar Software and Twitter.
The link will be in the description. Everyone, make sure you buy it.
Yes, and twice. Like get it on GOG, and then Xbox, and then Steam, and then
buy it for a
show
bunch
off all
of
your
friends.
achievements. Midnight Medium. Where can we find you aside from the night in the alleys?
Oh, so it was you following.
I am YouTubing on the regular, so you can find me there at Midnight Medium. Let's see where else. You can find my lukewarm to trash takes on the Twixter X Twitter at a Midnight Medium. You can throw all your money away if you like on Patreon, if you like what I'm all about. I think I'm over on TikTok now. I think I made a deal with the devil, and that's a thing now. Trying to be as uncringe as possible and just post clips and short reviews and stuff like that, and just diversify the old portfolio, as one has to do these days.
Excellent. And then Robert, where can we find you? Like, what are your battle pass that you're plugging here?
Oh,
Is it
if you want to buy
Highguard?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yeah. You can find me on OnlyFans, on Snapchat, on.
I know.
Only
So-
peanut butter baking recipes on there. I understand. Yeah.
Oh yeah, all right, man.
We've
joined
been
the
doing something with
membership,
peanut
it's
butter. It
horrible.
just
Yeah.
It just
So
sticks.
you can find the Quad Damage podcast obviously here on YouTube. You're watching it now, but we are available on YouTube Music as well. You can find us on Twitter /X and Blue Sky at Quad Dam Podcast, and on Reddit at Quad Damage Podcast. We also have a merchandise store, an affiliate store. We have YouTube memberships as well if you want to get the outtakes for episodes such as this that hit the cutting room floor. So please feel free at your leisure.
Excellent. And I'm Nick, and you can find me at The Nth Review, youtube.com/The Nth Review, patreon.com/Nth Review, or The Nth Review. It's Nth Review everywhere else. It's the Patreon that's weird. And of course, we have to, because we are so cool, we have to get our finger guns ready. Aaron, are you ready? Are you ready?
I don't
You
have
ready
any
for
guns.
this?
I
Are
can't
you
do
ready?
it.
Let's go. All right. And until next time, keep on
booming.
booming. Yeah.